On Tuesday, November 6th, students of Cleveland State University School of Communication, class Com 224, Foundations of Journalism and Promotional Communication, hosted a town hall event. The event explored comic strips, the power of political endorsement, ethnic newspapers, columnists, and more, and was part of the exploration of the 200th anniversary of the newspaper in Cleveland.
With election day today, I think the role of newspapers is as important as ever. And when I say the word newspapers, I mean newspapers. It can come on a piece of paper, it can be on your phone, it can be on a website. I think that word will probably continue. As I tell my students, with each innovation of a new type of medium, the old media have not gone away. They've changed, they've morphed, they've turned into something else, and I'm sure that will be continuing today. As this morning I look on my phone for my news, in the future your children or your grandchildren will have the option of having that chip implanted as soon as they're born, because you want to keep up with everybody else. Why would you not want them to just blink their eyes and see the internet, the news, everything available to them?
In his speech, Dr. Leo Jeffries, emeritus professor at Cleveland State University, talked about the effect of the community newspaper and the role it has in the community.
In a class I was teaching a few years ago, I asked students to pick up a copy of the newspaper, the PD, for an assignment. After class, I overheard one student ask another, "Where would I find a newspaper?" Someone suggested a convenience store or a gas station, fortunately, and I knew then we were in trouble. And of course, since then, the shift of so much advertising online, some observers expect legacy newspapers to disappear entirely or to become digital. If that happens, what do we lose? Actually, I'd like to reverse that question and talk about what do we gain from newspapers. And of course, the most important of the traditional functions is the old watchdog function of the press as well. But if no one's watching, who's going to fill the gap? I think we can hope that community newspapers fill some of the gaps. We did a survey a number of years ago of community newspapers throughout the United States, about 500 of them. And they said that the community papers were doing fine. It was the dailies that were giving away their content and losing the advertising, the economic model. I think that's probably still the case today. In our own research, though, it isn't just the watchdog function that's important, it's stimulating civic engagement. And the community papers that were surveyed said that it was equally important that readers and it is true, our own research shows readers of papers are more aware of their government. People who subscribe to papers are not only aware of what's happening, they're more involved in their communities. So newspapers stimulate involvement, stimulate engagement, and provide a sort of coordinating function for communities. At the most micro level, social media such as Facebook actually coordinate consumers and residents with local opportunities. I find out when the next ramen is at Mason's Creamery, usually through Facebook. But that's one of the few things like that. I had hoped that iNeighbors or Nextdoor progressed for several decades, and I think the loss of a neighborhood newspaper is sort of like a canary in the mine shaft, signaling the decline of a neighborhood. And in reverse, the appearance of such voices, whether it's online or whatever, signals a brighter future. In these cynical times, we have to hope that good journalism in one form or another serves that watchdog function that's so important at the local level, not just at the national level, for the good of our democracies. When no one's watching, that's when corruption occurs.
Rich Weiss, the managing editor of The Tree Monster, discussed how community newspapers are helping to bring back the trust in the media.
Newspapers at their best inform and engage communities. Now, more than ever, it seems apparent that informed and engaged communities are essential for a healthy democracy. Not just conservatives, not just liberals, not just independents, but across the board. The proliferation of fake news in concept and fact has actually eroded the most important asset any media outlet has with its readership: trust. A Pew Research study conducted from 2016 to 2017 found Americans express only a moderate trust in most news sources. That same study, and this is a declining process, but that same study revealed an increase in the number of respondents who trust information from their own local news organization. This increase outpaced trust of information from sources of national news, friends, and family. Community media deserts stretch Cleveland communities that have languished without their own voice for decades, leaving clusters of communities underserved and underreported. Can we afford to turn a blind eye as our trusted neighborhood and community media outlets age and shudder? Can we cede the information of our local communities to the continued growth of big tech, social media, and cable news? Can we justify neglecting our local media outlets just when studies show these local media outlets can grow the very thing slipping through the fingers of less localized media? Trust. Might we use the opportunity of the 200th anniversary of the Cleveland Gazette and Commercial Register to rededicate ourselves to the health of the local media on which we depend? Could this day, Election Day, be the day we stopped rolling our eyes about local media and started rolling up our sleeves instead? Should we make this the day we all agree that a community lacking trusted information by and for their own community makes for a less healthy democracy for us all? I think so. Let's strengthen existing community media serving Cleveland's neighborhoods. Let's foster new outlets in underserved neighborhoods. Let's find funding and expertise to overcome fledgling community media obstacles. Let's build networks of assistance and collaboration between a constellation of independent media outlets throughout Northeast Ohio. I'm proud to be a publisher of local media in Cleveland. The 200th anniversary of the Cleveland Gazette and Commercial Register gives us an opportunity to celebrate local media's past. Perhaps it can also offer us an opportunity to begin fighting anew for a thriving, healthy future for our local media in Cleveland.
And George Rodriguez, president and editor of the Cleveland Plain Dealer.
We do break news, and unfortunately we were working on that Saturday, 10 days ago, breaking news about Pittsburgh. We've done that a few times as we changed our mission. We just had to compete with everybody else. And the people that will get our news on Saturday will get it, which is our Shabbat. The people that aren't going to read it because they can't use electronic devices, they'll get it at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. And we did weigh several years ago after John Zinyanyuk, the Nazi war criminal, passed away. We did not break that news Saturday morning at 8:45. And after that, we reevaluated our policies and guidelines. And we said we just must, because everybody else had that story. We looked very silly waiting 10 hours. Let me go quickly to the types of stories we cover. What makes us valuable? We have Jewish and non-Jewish readers, Jewish and non-Jewish advertisers. We're averaging 64 pages per week. As most of our colleagues are dwindling in page count, we're increasing it. On any given week, we could have 15 pages, 15 full-page ads in the paper. We get the hospitals, we get the realtors, we get the car dealers. They want to be before our audience because of the product we're giving them. I always like to say, in real estate, it's location, location, and location. And in newspapers, it's local, local, local. And local reporting is very expensive. And our publisher, Kevin Adelstein, will go the mile for us. In fact, when Pittsburgh hit, we had a reporter on the ground in Pittsburgh within 24 hours. And we produced an 80-page paper, including 26 pages of reporting, all but 2 wire stories from Pittsburgh. The 2 wire stories, obviously, Donald Trump was there, and then we had a story about the shooter and one about the victims, 3 stories. Other than that, we produced stories around the clock from Pittsburgh, as well as finding a lot of local connections. Unfortunately, we found out people in Akron, people in Solon, and people in Beechwood were related to those people. Those are the stories that we tell.
And George Rodriguez, president and editor of the Cleveland Plain Dealer.
And I think to some extent, our ability to address and solve problems as a society does depend on creating a set of agreed upon facts that we can all base judgments on. If there are no facts, if there is no truth, then how do we even begin to get along? How do we begin to make decisions? And that is true at the national level, and it's also true to some extent at the lower local level. So how do we deal with this? Well, as everybody has said, localness is a piece of it. And the mission of the Plain Dealer and of our sister company, Cleveland.com, are both intensely local now. Now, newspaper readers still want to have a national and world report, so we have that. From what I can tell, that's mostly to give people something to fight about. But the local news is really where our investments lie. We also have to adapt. I mean, I agree. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that reading things on paper makes you smarter and better looking. I just lay that out there. For sure, it helps you remember things more and see things you might otherwise miss. But at the same time, I would need a gun to make my daughter read a newspaper on paper every day. She's inevitably going to consume this stuff on digital platforms, and I have to be fine with that because I've got to convince my daughter of what's really going on in the world, right? I can't walk away from that mission. So you'll see us adapting. Cleveland.com's done a great job, I think, of spreading digital news, and we're proud to be a part